So we did this in the session before this, and that is, I want to talk about CV for just a second. I'm not sure why, as an organization, we don't embrace it more, but it is a true failed opportunity, right? When you think about the CV process and the KPA inside of it, I want you to think of it this way. If you're looking to get into a relationship with someone, you CV them. If someone needs to help with their performance, whether it be an agent or whether it be an employee, you CV them. If somebody needs to begin to be ushered out the door for whatever reason, you CV them. In other words, CV is your answer to every people, situation, question that you have. And I kind of want to demonstrate a little of that today. I kind of want to do my human guinea pig here has joyfully agreed to play along with me. And thank you for that, by the way. You're welcome. As we demonstrate this. But I kind of want to walk you through this. I want to talk to you as a little bit while I do this. We're not going to go deep into this. But we're going to take about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And I want to demonstrate to you exactly how I think about it, how I use this tool, and then we're also going to get a little into the life journey, and I'm going to show you how I do that as well, and I'm going to talk to you about that, okay? So one of the reasons why I ask them to get, these are chairs out of my office. The reason why I ask them to do this is so that it could be as real life as humanly possible. So in this scenario, Sajag let's just say he's a top agent. He could be a potential employee. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to treat him, by the way, exactly the same. And I know that seems a little odd to you, but the truth of the matter is, it's exactly the same. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they're a brand new agent. It doesn't matter if they are a $20 million producer, $100 million producer. It doesn't really matter. Are they applying for a position of employment in your market center? It doesn't matter. You go through this process. And one of the reasons this is important is because your agents should be using this process. And again, as market center leadership, if you don't embrace this tool, and it is simply dynamite, and if you don't embrace it, your people are not going to embrace it, and then you're harming them by not making sure that they take advantage of literally what you provide them in terms of people technology. Okay, so let's kind of go through this. So the setup is that we either met before or we had a conversation. If he is an agent, most likely what's happened is we met, we had a conversation. In that conversation, I asked the question, have you ever taken a behavioral assessment before? Right? Have you ever gone through a process to figure out your strengths, your weaknesses, and use that process to analyze your entire company? Have you ever analyzed your entire company that way? By the way, invariably the answer is no, because they haven't. And at best they use a DISC, which is a liar. So they haven't done that, right? And then I say, you know what? I'd be happy to help you go through and do an audit on your organization. It would start with you. So if you wouldn't be offended, let's get back together. I'm going to send you a link. It's going to take about an hour, and I apologize for that, but I think you're going to love it. And then we'll get together, and I'll start with you, and I'll demonstrate what we're going to do for your entire company. Because one of the things as team leaders that we're not doing is we're trying to present our way to success with top producers instead of consulting them and coaching them and training them to success, right? To bring them into the organization. And I really want to talk about the skill of coaching and consulting and training people into joining your organization and demonstrating a simple skill that that they can use in their company, but simultaneously helping them audit their own organization, nobody offers that. And if you went around the city and all you did all day long as leadership was offering real estate agents to consult their organization and help audit it operationally, you would get appointments and you would quickly become kind of a different kind of a leader in the real estate business. So let's do this. So we're gonna role play this, if you will.
Okay.
We're gonna use your actual behavioral assessment, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So thanks for coming. I really appreciate you giving your time to do this. So when you took the assessment, they asked you questions, you gave them answers, and based upon that, they looked at patterns, and then they came back with what we would call a behavioral profile, which you're familiar with.
Yep.
So what I like to do is just read this to you in pieces, and then we can talk about it. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Awesome. So here's what you told it. You said that I will work best in a fast-moving environment in which I can utilize my assertiveness in accomplishing my goals. Does that seem accurate to you?
It's accurate. It's accurate.
So when you say accurate, what are you saying accurate? Are you saying that you work best in a fast-moving environment?
I do move fast, so yeah, I don't like things that are moving slow. I get bored quickly.
So I want you to notice what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is I'm writing. Now, understand that I'm about as aggressive as they come. And as a result of that, I don't like sitting like this. This is a little torture for me, slightly. And so I kind of, the way that I make this work in my life is I have a routine, and I go through the routine. And the routine is I sit in a comfortable chair, and this is right out of my own office. I sit in a comfortable chair, I get in a thinking person position, right? And I write. And one of the reasons I write is because it makes me think about what he said. In the absence of writing, we're just talking, and it's going to go right over my head, and we're going to start talking fast. And this is about me trying to understand him behaviorally. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is slow this process down, which is going to be a little torture to a lot of you. I'm going to slow it down, and I'm going to really try to understand who he is. Okay, so I'm going to read him bits and pieces, and then we're going to stop and we're going to talk about it. So when you say this is you, and you say you work best in a fast-moving environment in which you can utilize your assertiveness, are you assertive?
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily assertive. I'm dedicated. If I commit to something, I'm going to get it done.
Well, you said that in an assertive way.
I'm assertive then.
Well, I'm just kind of curious. So when you think about assertiveness, right, what do you think assertive is?
I'm driven. I'm not going to let anything get in my way.
Okay. Can you give me an example of where you've done that professionally in your life?
Sure. I'll use a Red Day volunteer project that we did for our area. We did Red Day from the first time I came to KW, and I fell in love with the project. We were helping out veterans. And we started out the first year, I think we did like 12 homes. I took it over the next year, we did 24 homes. We went to 48 homes. We did 100, still wasn't quite happy with where we were. So I really wanted to bring all the market centers together, and went out to all the market centers, pitched it to them on what we wanted to do, and that year we did 248 veteran homes in one day, and we fed 1,000 veterans.
Wow. So how did you assert yourself in all of that? Because you could do all that and not be assertive.
Sure. It was getting buy-in from the leaders. It was really, I took everything upon myself. You know, the business was put aside for a short period of time because that was my one thing at that point that I really wanted to give back, and I just did whatever it took to get it done.
So you said earlier that you were driven and you wouldn't let anything get in your way, and that's kind of your view of assertiveness. So in your example, what you're saying is that's how you approach that.
Yep.
I got that. So you said that your ability to take charge and do quality work is who you are. Is that right?
Yeah.
So when you say that you take charge,
I own it. The results are mine.
and when you say the results are yours, what do you mean?
If I fail or if I succeed, it's mine, right?
Yep. And the word quality work came up. What would you think quality work means?
I'm pretty detail oriented, so I double check everything. I'm not going to just put something out there. If I'm not pleased with it, or if it's not to the level that I would be satisfied, I won't deliver it. I'm going to make sure that it's something that I would be happy with, having my name attached to it.
It says that you can be creative in working with concepts and ideas, but will keep your people contacts purposeful.
Yeah. I'm not a social butterfly.
Okay.
If people haven't seen that already, I mean, I'll put my head down, I'm going to get it done, and I'll reach out to people when I need to. Otherwise...
So are you unfriendly? Y'all shut up.
I wouldn't say I'm unfriendly. It's perceived that way until people get to know me. I'm actually a very caring person. And once you get to know me and you understand where my head is, you'll see I'm actually really, really friendly.
So how do you help people get to know you so they don't think you're a jerk?
Communication, right? They need to know why I do what I do, and it's not about me, it's about helping others. You know, the things that I do in my life are not about me.
So let's have a moment here for a second. So, and thanks for playing along, but one of the things that you saw me do was I pushed him around, right? Now, why did I do that? I want to see how he responds. I want to understand how he behaves, right? And yeah, I wanted to watch the reaction, because remember what I'm trying to do is a couple of things. One is I want to understand who he is, and in order to do that, we're going to have to look at this thing from multiple ways. Secondly, if I'm thinking of getting into business with him, I kind of want to understand if he can, how tough he is. I kind of want to see what does it look like if he's challenged or if he's pushed around a little bit. I want to see what that is. I'm not going to be rude. I don't think I was rude, and I'm not in any way going to be obnoxious about it. And I'm definitely walking up to the line on this, by the way. But I'm going to do this because for me personally, I want to work with individuals that have a thick skin to a certain degree, and they're not, the first time that I, in fact, don't say something the correct way, that then I get judged by that individual as being rude or insensitive or not a social butterfly, if that makes sense. So that's what you saw me just do, okay? It says that you are assertive, and you are competitive, and you will strive to make a major impact. Do you think you're competitive?
I'm competitive.
You're competitive? Why are you competitive? What creates that for you?
For me, I mean, I'm going to use what you said. I mean, and you've been saying it. I don't like to settle. I don't know what my full potential is, so I'm going to push myself to do things that I haven't.
Gotcha. And it says that you want to make a major impact. What does that mean?
So there's a purpose behind everything I do. I won't do things that are unintentional. And regardless of if it's business, but things that I do with my family, there's a reason why, we do everything that we do. And, that concept really came in play, with watching my father. He migrated here, and he always worked extremely hard. Regardless if we had money or not, he would always give. And that influenced who I became. So I want to leave something that makes an impact on other people. And the things that I do, the opportunities that I look to create for the people in my world is so that it can change their lives.
It says that you'll make decisions quickly and is particularly aggressive in the way you think. You like to make quick decisions?
When appropriate.
How would you know?
I look at I'm an analytical person, so I'll quickly analyze, okay, who does it impact? If it's something that's going to impact a lot of people, or it could potentially negatively impact someone, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to think about it. And yet, I'll use a real estate transaction, for instance. If it comes down to it and it's closing day and the moving trucks are sitting outside and title hasn't closed, or there's something that's delaying it, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it done. I'm going to make it right for the client. So if it's putting them up in a hotel, I'll take care of it. If it's personally going and moving them, I'm going to go do it.
What if you move too quickly and you make a mistake?
I've made a lot of those, and I learn from them. I journal a lot. I write down my mistakes, and then I look at, okay, what am I going to do differently next time?
It says your hard-charging nature may cause you to continue in a certain direction when it would be more effective to stop and regroup.
There's been times when I've made plans and because I'm so determined to make things work, I'll continue down a path.
So do you think you're hard charging?
Well, it depends. How do you interpret hard charging?
I don't know, I'm asking you.
So, in my world, what it means to me is I'm going to keep pushing until I don't have another path or I don't have a resource that can show me the way.
So it says that could cause you to continue in a certain direction when it would be more effective to stop and regroup. Do you think that you've hard charged and
I'll
pressed?
exhaust all my options.
Can you think of a moment where you actually pressed and ended up in the wrong place and had to regroup?
I'll hiring people, giving people, not firing quick enough. I put a manager in charge of one of my businesses, and it was the wrong hire. And I wanted to give him a chance. I wanted to let him self-discover, and it just wasn't happening. Went on a little too long. And regardless of how much I pushed him and continued to try to pour into him, it just wasn't working. And I probably held on to him 12 months too long.
Yeah, this is actually talking about making quick decisions that would cause you to end up in a place you don't want to be.
I had a business that I went into, a brand new franchise coffee shop that I jumped right into without doing my due diligence on it, and the business failed.
What happened?
Franchise filed bankruptcy twice in the time that we were franchisees, and it ended up causing me to lose $250,000 in cash.
Ouch. Was it something you did, or?
Just the franchise, the market had tanked. It was 08, 09, when the market was going down, and with the franchise, there's no local support. We were the only ones within a 3.5-hour radius, so there was just no branding. All the marketing fees that we were paying them on a monthly basis wasn't there. I did a lot of door-to-door sales with businesses, but people were hurting for money.
Yeah. Yep. What could you have done differently?
Going back, reflecting on that time, which I did because that was my turning point in my life, was I would have researched the opportunity a lot more than what I did, instead of letting my emotions just kind of let it take over.
So since then, do you research things better?
A lot more.
So it says that you're highly responsive and can actually be impatient and excitable. Do you think you're highly responsive?
I would say yeah.
So what are you saying yeah to?
I'm saying yes to I'll accept the challenge.
So you could be impatient.
Yes, I want everything done yesterday.
Why is that?
Great question. I don't know. There's something in me that always wants more. It's just not enough.
So you have a strong need to be correct.
I wouldn't say it's a strong need to be correct. If I'm going to stand up for what I say, it's because I truly believe in it. I've done the research. I have the content to back it up. I'm not going to just say that I'm right for the sake of saying I'm right. Yet, if I am going to stand up for something, it's because I truly believe in it.
Do you need to be right?
No.
So you disagree with this statement because it says you have a strong need to be right.
I don't need to be right.
Okay. So it's okay if you're wrong.
Yep.
Why?
That's how you grow, right?
Are you wrong a lot?
A fair amount.
Give me an instance where you were wrong.
Well, I mean, the instance where I just gave you where I made the wrong hire.
Gotcha. So when you knew you had done that, then what'd you do?
There was red flags that I ignored. So yes, I did know that. Going back, reflecting on it, going through the process again, had I known some of the processes that we have now when I was making that hire back then, I would have avoided it. The writing was on the wall.
Says that you try to make your decisions on the basis of solid evidence and objectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that means?
It's gathering the facts. People, I mean, I hear it from you all the time, is people live before us, right? And if you don't go do the research, you don't go read the books, and you just plow forward, you're going to end up failing.
Yeah. Is it okay to fail?
Yeah, it is.
So you want to fail?
Well, yes, and the failure is okay as long as you're willing to make the pivots or the corrections so that you don't make that same mistake twice, right? And so if it's failure for a lack of going into an unknown territory, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. If it hasn't been tried and tested and I fail, I'm okay.
says you won't make concessions on important issues just to placate or accommodate others.
Can you repeat that?
Yep. Says that you will not make concessions on important issues just to make someone happy.
That's true.
Why not?
Pleasing people in my mind doesn't get you anywhere. It's when you get yourself into a bad situation, or you end up making the wrong decisions.
Says you have a need for structure and order in your work. You like structure?
I do like structure, and yet I also like the challenge of not knowing what's coming next.
Do you like to create your own structure, or do you like someone to give you structure?
Combination of both.
Can you give me an example of where someone gave you structure you liked?
MREA.
Says that you like to be assertive and will push your agenda and will want to make sure that you are correct. What do you think?
If it's something that I know is going to make an impact, we're going forward.
Yeah. In other words, when you believe that that's the right path, you're going to push for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Says you're a doer who concentrates on your performance rather than attempting to direct or influence others.
I don't agree with that. I am a doer. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I do believe in empowering people. I can only do so much on my own. I need a team.
Why?
Success through others.
What does that mean?
For me, it means being able to have the things that I want in life, be able to do the things that I want through life, and opening the doors for people for opportunities that they didn't know they had.
Why do you want to do that?
Because I think there's too many people in this world that put roadblocks up for themselves because they don't know what's at the other side.
Says that you will be direct in your approach to leading others.
Yep.
Yep. Thanks. I'm going to stop here. So, you get it? Do you feel like, even though you may have never met this gentleman personally, do you believe in the last 20 minutes that you got to know him? That's right. Do you like him? Yeah, me too. I have no idea why they would clap for that.
I don't either.
Yeah, if we could have questions, we'd have a dialogue between you and I about what you're observing right now. What I want you to notice is that when I decided I wanted to tune you out, I tuned you out. And when I tuned you out, it became a little more intense for him. Now, understand, normally there would be no observers in the room anyway. But This is about trying to understand who a person is. And the best way to do that is to begin, honestly, with behavior. Now, here's one of the things, let's just talk about this for just a second. I don't actually need a behavioral assessment to do this, right? I could be at a party, I could be just talking in the hallway, and I'm not, now, you could do this, you could say, hey, Sajag, on a scale of 1 to 10, how aggressive do you think you are?
I'd say an 8 or a 9.
Now, why would you say that?
I'm driven. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to where I want to.
And why would you say you're not a 10?
There's certain things that I don't control.
Gotcha. Can you give me an example of where you've been aggressive in your business?
Yeah. In 2000.
You can stop. Do you see what I just did? So let's just pretend I don't have an assessment, but I understand behavior. So I understand that I'm going to be very curious around how he approaches tasks, which is a level of aggressiveness. I'm going to be very interested in how he approaches people, how he works with people. I'm going to be very interested in how he communicates, how he deals with failure, right? And because I know that these are the things that I'm going to find out from an assessment, I don't need an assessment to get me into the conversation. I can get into that conversation. Now, there's another way I can get into this conversation, and that is we happen to be talking again in the hallway, or I meet you at a party or somewhat of some event, and you tell me a story. And as he's talking and telling me a story, I fall into that mode of I go, whoa, that was aggressive. You're an aggressive guy. And he says, not really. I said, no, I mean, really? I mean, you seem like aggressive, so you don't think you're aggressive? No, not really. Well, you just told me a story that you were aggressive. Yeah, but that was a blah, blah, blah. And I'm into the conversation. I let him start with the story, and then I went backwards. Or I can ask him how aggressive he is, and then I can ask him to give me an example. I can get into this conversation any way I want. That makes sense to you? Which means that because I'm looking for relationship, I'm looking for people, I'm going to be very purposeful at a moment where I go, you know what, I like this guy, or I like this lady, and I would, right? I want to get to know them better. So if I'm out on the recruiting trail, or I'm standing at the coffee machine in my own market center, and one of my people comes up to me, yes, chit chat has value, make no mistake about that. But simultaneously, as a leader, I'm going to have a conversation around the basic behaviors, and I'm literally going to try to see if I can understand him better. And by the way, in the process of getting to understand him better, how's he going to feel about me? What's he going to feel about me as a result of this? He's going to like me. And the reason he's going to like me is because I just, in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, showed more interest in who he is than he's been shown in weeks, months, who knows how long. That makes sense? This is like dynamite. This is like kryptonite. This is like one of your superpowers, right? If this is a people business, how you treat people matters. It matters off the chart, right? If you don't learn the skill of talking around behavior with people, how are you going to do your blankety blank job? How are you going to do it? And by the way, I know, because I know how many KPAs are ordered. Sorry, I know. As a group, you get an F. As a group, some of you get A pluses. Some of you are below F. And then you say, and then you lie and you say, well, I use the DISC. But you got to understand something. The DISC is a liar. The DISC is a liar. It is close to worthless. It is close to worthless. Now, if you're really good and you really understand behavior, you can take any instrument and turn it into a valuable tool because you understand behavior. But the DISC is not going to lead me into that conversation accurately. It's not going to do it. Most of your market centers, if not maybe everyone in this room, you've already paid for the right to use unlimited KPAs. We should be seeing out of a market center, now this is my soapbox for just a second, we should be seeing out of the market center, we should be seeing 10, 20, 30 KPAs being ordered by a team leader. You do understand that. Because what it would mean is that you're out there getting into relationship in a meaningful level with people that you're trying to have real relationships with. And you understand the value of behavior, so you're literally saying, hey, you wouldn't be offended. I'd like to give you this, and let's see where it goes. That makes sense? So am I going to see KPAs go up? Do we have to have this conversation again? You do what you want. I will just tell you right now, you know, when the first time this was done to me, it was like taking a scalpel out and opening me up. I could not believe it, really, and it was so eye-opening for me, right, that it was transformative. It's like I met someone who finally understood me, and of course the person who did it didn't know me at all. They had simply just given the assessment and then walked me through the conversation. But the bonding that occurs when you understand someone at this level. Now I want you to notice one last thing I'll point out, and that is I wasn't chit-chatty with you, right? In this moment, I'm going to square up, and we're going to be close enough that this has a sense of intimacy to it, and then I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to let you answer. If you noticed, I didn't reflect back anything, did I? No. In no way, no matter what his response was, I gave nothing, right? This is all about him. I want to understand him. And in order to do that, I don't need to let him off the hook. I don't need to have a conversation with him about any of this. This is not a conversation, if you will, right? Now, every now and then you can break down and go, yeah, I understand that. You know, well, yeah, I actually do that too, or whatever. Sure, you can do that. But you do a lot of that, and that means you have completely digressed off of what you're trying to accomplish. By the way, the reason why this is important is because your top agents are failing in this area. You do realize that when I hold a mastermind with our top people, Colette, do you know what we talk about most of the time? This is their number one problem. And I will tell you that one of the reasons it's their number one problem is because they have a lot of OPs and team leaders who don't give a crap about this number one problem. That you're not training it in your businesses. You're not embracing this as the number one skill. Remember, it's I do it, we do it, they do it. The second that they want to move from I do it to we do it, they need to be taught these methods. If you're not teaching it, where are they going to go to get it? And the thing that drives me crazy is when a top agent says, well, I don't get anything from the market center. I promise you, if I went inside that top agent's business that just said that, we're going to find a crappy hiring process, and we're going to find people that are not performing. We're going to find people that are messing up that organization. But that individual looks up and says, I don't get anything from the market center. I promise you that if you offered to audit their organization every year, to do KPAs on their entire organization, and then look at the job matches, and then sit down with them and talk about who's succeeding and failing, you do understand they charge between $20,000 and $50,000 a year to do that. You did know that, didn't you? They charge between $20,000 and $50,000 to do that kind of audit. And here you're charging a cap, and they say don't get any value. But that's just crazy. The number one thing they need is something that you have in the palm of your hand. That as a business, you actually pay for the rights to do this in an unlimited manner. And yet when we look at our statistics, what we see is we have the vast majority of our market centers don't do this at all. And I'm happy for anyone to stand up and go get a microphone and tell me what the hell's going on. When I get invited into an agent's business, this is the number one issue they have. This is it. They don't make good hires. They hire out of pain instead of gain. And as a result of that, they end up with people that put ceilings on their business. And they don't really realize this is going on. You have the tools, you have the methods to help them, right? Most of you, or not all, weren't here before. We had Josh Anderson. And Josh, over the last 10 years has built up an amazing business. He'll crest over 100 million in production. And you know what he said about this? He said, when I told him to take it 18 times, he took it 18 times. And he mastered it. And then he built a huge business around it. Now, if you embraced this and you went back into your world and grabbed your top people, and every month you made sure that this CV process was being taught in your market center, and that you were right there in the room with them, taking it or teaching it, and you got your people to come into that classroom, and in the process you then left and worked with them on their people challenges, oh my gosh, you would revolutionize your market center in a whole nother level. You would become one of the most famous businesses in your market. If you're a team leader, you would become one of the most powerful team leaders on the planet, because you hold the power of what makes businesses great, and that is who you're in business with. Okay? Can I get your word that you'll redouble your efforts and embrace this? Yes? Okay. We have a few more minutes, so we're going to switch gears. So the way I would handle this is I would do this. This takes about 45 minutes to an hour, okay? And we actually were literally we were a little over halfway done. So we probably had about another, maybe even 20 minutes, and we'd have been done. We'd have been over that. And then what I would have done is I said, Sajag, I want to switch gears just for a second, if that's okay. And miraculously, I have a flip chart. This actually is right out of my office, right? And so I would say, let's switch gears for just a second. And I want you to notice again that what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put this as close as I can to him, right? And the reason is because I want him to concentrate. I want him to see this, and I don't want him seeing other stuff. And then I'm going to just write up here. I'm going to write date. I'm going to write event. This is my language. You can write any language about this you want. I'm going to write ahas, and then I'm going to write money. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, where are you from?
I was born in Wembley, England.
Yeah? And when did you come to the United States?
1983.
And how old were you?
Right, 3.5.
So, okay, so you spent most of your life in the United States.
Yeah.
So, what was your last formal education? Was that high school, college?
College.
Okay, so what year was that you graduated?
2000.
2000? So you graduated in 2000. Where did you go?
University of Pittsburgh.
So you went to University of Pittsburgh. Did you get a major?
Yep, information science.
Okay, so information science, and what is that?
Well, it was information science with a minor in computer science.
Okay.
So, software programming.
Gotcha. So you studied programming.
Yep.
Any ahas from that when you graduated? When you look back at college and you drove out of town, anything? What did you think of college? What did you learn? What was your aha?
My aha was I was going down a path that my parents wanted me to go down, which wasn't working for me. And when I found the path that I wanted to, everything fell in place.
Now, why were you going down your parents' path?
To please them.
And why did you want to please them?
Well, because they were busting their butt for me.
So time out just for a second, and I love that, by the way, about you. I want you, now you saw me do this before, but did you just see what I did? I never accept the first answer. I go for the second answer. I go for the third answer. Until I'm not pressuring him, I'm just trying to understand. And so I'm just going to keep asking, and I'm going to peel the layers back till we get to a sense of who he is. And you notice we wouldn't have gotten there if I hadn't have asked 3 questions. If I'd have stopped at the first one and I'm just doing this, we don't get to this moment where he says, I did it essentially because I love my parents.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a phenomenal answer. That's a hard answer of the biggest kind, right? And it reveals a lot about character. And we don't get there if we don't ask that, right? And by the way, interestingly enough, is when you peel back those layers like that, then the person you're doing that with, they have a moment also. It's not you having a moment, he's actually having a moment, because that's an emotional thing to him. And he's reliving that right now. And I want you to realize that he's reliving it with me. And that creates a bond between us that you can't get rid of. I got what he said. Okay? I understand that. Did you work in college at all?
Had 3 jobs.
You had 3 jobs. What'd you do?
I worked nights at the computer lab.
Okay.
I worked in medical records during the week. And then I volunteered on the weekends in PT, physical therapy.
How are you qualified to do physical therapy?
It was a volunteer job, so I went.
Sorry, we all had to laugh at that because, yeah, haven't seen anything up here that said that you were qualified to do that.
Well, that goes back to following the path of my parents, which I was pre-med.
Ah, okay, well then there you go. You're pre-med, gotcha. Now it makes, we take our laughter back. Okay, cool. So what did you earn your senior year? Any idea roughly?
Well, all through college, I worked. I paid my way through school.
So again, what did you earn your senior year, do you think?
So, I mean, going through this,
Pick a number.
I knew how much I made.
Yeah, just pick a number.
It's probably about 12, 15,000.
Gotcha. So what happened next? You graduated and...
So, I need to back up. So, the summer of 2000, I was getting ready to go into my senior year, and I wanted to get an internship in computer science. So, went on an interview with a small startup company in Pittsburgh, and I was up against a bunch of Carnegie Mellon software engineers. I had an uphill battle coming from University of Pittsburgh, didn't have much experience in programming, and walked in and I told the company that, look, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have this opportunity, including working for free.
Wow.
And that stood out for them because they didn't have money. So I got it.
So what did you do? Was that 2000 also?
I was in 2000.
Okay. So what did you specifically do?
So they gave me a book, 1,400 pages. They said, read it, and we want you to build this. So I read it, and I built it in 2 weeks. And what I built was an online storage system.
Did it work?
It worked.
Did they pay you?
Nope. Oh, it gets better.
Any ahas from that experience?
That's when I found out that this is what I wanted to do.
Well, what did you work?
Programming.
Ah, you realized that's what
I wanted to build it. I wanted to build things.
So what happened next?
So after I got done with that, they gave me a prototype of the actual application that they were going after venture capital money and stuff for. They showed me some screenshots that they had built out on Microsoft Visual Basic. And so it was a desktop application, just images of it. And they said, we want you to start prototyping this and building it out. And the 1,400-page book that they gave me was Microsoft ASP. So I took the book and I built out their prototype in 4 weeks so that they can go present it to colleges and universities.
And what happened?
everyone liked it, so they offered me a job in December, which I did take with them, even though I had multiple other offers on the table at that point.
And what did they offer to pay you?
I took the job for $54,000.
What was your aha during that experience?
For me on that one, the opportunity meant more to me than the money. I turned down a job that was $85,000 with Deloitte just because I knew this was going to be a bigger opportunity.
Let's stop there. So, thank you. Do you get it? Do you see what's happening? What's wonderful about this construct is it gives us an organized conversation. It gives me a script that I can continually walk him through that allows us to kind of understand this journey that he's going on, and we kind of understand it in a time based on timeline. That's important. And then we understand what he was doing. And then we understand what he was learning or wasn't learning or what he thought about it. And then we're beginning to get a sense of the kind of income he earns. One of the things, remember, everyone has a trajectory in their life. And remember, when we go into business with someone, what we're trying to do is help them understand what their potential is, or for us to understand what it is. Does that make sense? In other words, if we meet a person in time, let's say it's a graph, and we meet a person in time, remember, when you go to go through a process like this with someone, what you're trying to do is answer the question, what direction are they going? Correct? But here's the problem, and that is the only way you're going to know what direction they're going is from where they came, right? So if, by the way, if he came this way, or he came and did that, or he's doing that, right? Or that's it, or that's it, or that's it, right? These spots matter, and this is called his past. So the number one way to predict the future is to understand the past. And that's why we do it, right? Now let's look at this for a second from you helping your top people hire people. Are they looking at their hires from the perspective of where they're coming from so they can predict where they're going to get? Because what happens to a lot of them is they end up hiring people that do this or this. Most of the hires that your people are making are living in this world right there, which is why their businesses, for the majority of the time, aren't what they could be. Does that make sense to you? And by the way, this simple little tool, you can teach them. You could, I remember when Jim and Linda McKissick, they were looking for someone to run the McKissick group, and they asked me to help them. And this is several decades ago. And Jimmy brought his brother to Austin. And so I told them to go sit in the next room. And then I sat down with him, and we went through a version of this. Back in that day, it was called something different. But we went through a version of this process. When we came out, they asked me what I thought of Brad. And my answer was, if you don't hire him, I am. And oh, by the way, they hired Brad, and that was the end of it. They never hired another person. Literally just ran and built the business. Unbelievable, right? But look what role I played in their life, right? Look at the value that I brought my partners in Denton, Texas. Now, by the way, all of you as leaders have the capacity to bring this value to anybody that you're associated with. You have, without a doubt, the finest behavioral tool that money can buy. You have it. It is literally that good. And number two, you have the tools to help understand who someone is, right? So I beg you, if your job is to help people grow and you're not getting a master's in understanding behavior and the process of how to understand people so that you can either advise them, right? So think about this. Someone's not achieving or struggling in their job. Can you see how you could go back to a behavioral assessment and go through that with them? Because what would we discover? They're not a good job match. That's what we would discover. We would discover the reason why they're not excelling at that job is because what the job requires isn't what they like to do. Does that make sense? Yes. Or we can go here and we can work through the whole thing, and what we realize is the job that they're doing was not the next natural thing in their life. Does that make sense? This wasn't a natural progression for them. This wasn't the next step that they actually should go do. Right? This was not an option that they should have taken. Does that make sense? We good?
We're good.
Thank you, young man. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.